back to the Book Reading Bitch Queens podcast. I'm Allie.
And I'm Sam. And this week we are going to discuss chapter 24, where we have our eyes open. So we see Alice in her true form, and we see all of the other fairies around the Spring Court Manor. And then we get an interesting conversation with a severed head. The conversation's not with the severed head, but there's a severed head, and there's an interesting conversation. Yeah.
I didn't think about it until you
Yeah,
said that. I was
was
like, oh, that just went like that.
when did she talk to a severed head?
Yeah, let me.
Short chapter, fruitful.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a theory, I think, in this chapter. I have a question about this in this chapter. And we'll get to it once we get to the head. But yeah, there were some like alarm bells being like, really, Tamlin? I don't know if you're interpreting that right, but that's just me being.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. My first highlight, and I know she answers the question, but my first highlight is on the first page of chapter 24, where she says, I guess she thinks, but why bother to glamour everything? And I wrote, good question. And of course, she answers it right afterwards, where she's like, because I'm a cowering human. That's why. And Tamlin would know that I'd lock myself in the room and never come out if I didn't see things for what they were. And blah, and I would be all scared and yada, yada. I think it's dismissive of the extent that he has glamored her.
Like, what do you mean by that?
So she's rubbing her eyes because she sees Alice finally, and she sees that like the whole house is full of beings, right? And she says, I rubbed my eyes with my thumb and forefinger, a glamour. That's what Tamlin had said he wore. His fairy sight had stripped away the glamours I'd been seeing, but why bother to glamour everything? And then she's dismissive, and she's like, well, because I'm a fucking scaredy cat of a human, and I would have locked myself in the room and been terrified by everything and been a little bitch about it. One, I don't think that's true.
No, but maybe it's what Tamlin would think. I don't necessarily think that though. Yeah, that's interesting.
And I'm trying, right? So, like, at the very beginning, Tamlin doesn't know her. I guess he knows what his goals are, right? He's like, I guess I got to seduce this broad now and like get her to fall in love with me. That's the whole point of bringing her back. And so, sure, glamour her so that she only sees what's necessary so that you can coax her into all the things and make it easier for seduction. But, like, also maybe to protect his own people, too, right? Like, you don't know who she is. Granted, she's a human who apparently can't do anything, right? Quote unquote.
Mm.
But I think that there's more to it than just being like, why would he glamour me from everything? Oh, because I was just such a scaredy cat and I would have hid it away. No, he's using you for a particular thing. So, like, he's manufacturing the amount of knowledge that you get at a time like he's creating a bias, right? And which is fine. Like, bias doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing, but I think he's giving her a narrative, and giving her all of the image right up front is not the narrative that he wants her to have. But also, he could have been protecting his own grounds, right? Like, she doesn't see Valaris right away because Rhys is like, yeah, no, too dangerous. I don't trust you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's not glamored from them. Yeah, maybe it's also just an isolation tactic. Like he's like, what if she like becomes besties with this little, I don't
That's
know what other Fae are
true.
called, and
Yeah,
then it doesn't hang out with me. So he's like, I need her
that's
to just hang out
true.
with me. So
That is also true, right? We've talked about how, like, the equation of love is predominantly proximity.
yeah,
Right? And so
and
he's just
so if
like,
you,
cool,
she's
I need her to fall for me. So, like, Lucien back the fuck off, and she can only hang out with me.
yeah, because she thinks there's no one else in the house.
Eek, that's rough.
Um, that's interesting. Yeah, I kind of skipped over that line a little bit, but yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was like, I don't know, trying to dig apart like his thought process, and like, really try to look at Tamlin and not just be like, wow, you're a dick, and like be sort of dismissive of his stuff, and like really try to dig into like why would he have glamored her, and maybe not give him the benefit of the doubt, but
Yeah.
not
Just
be
to
so,
think about other possibilities. Because nothing is as it seems.
yeah, and I think that her answer is dismissive. And I don't think that it
Yeah.
is
True.
true to her character.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. See, I was kind of thinking. Oh, actually, one thing that I think that's before that because that's when she talks to him. Um. Okay. Well, actually, first off, we sort of realize Alice, and it's kind of an interesting moment of like meeting her, seeing her who she really was. Um. Um. But when she's walking through the house, I thought it was interesting. It says they seemed. She doesn't look at the lower Fae, because she says I try to avoid looking at those ones as they seem the most surprised to notice my attention. I don't know why. Maybe it kind of gave me vibes of like because they're not used to like a part of Tamlin's inner circle, like giving them the time of day, or maybe I don't know. But I just was kind of. Where did you think of anything of that line?
I didn't. I have the next paragraph. I have a thought, but no, it's interesting though. Like I tried to avoid looking at those ones as they seem to most surprised to notice my attention. I mean, they're lesser fae and they're servants, right?
Oh,
They,
is that what they are?
mm,
I guess I didn't assume that all the lesser fae were servants, but maybe they are.
I mean, they're not essential, right? He said that you only had to see essential people, so they're not
Yeah.
essential. And so my thought was that they were like servants, or at least people working the grounds. And
Oh,
so,
I thought
like,
they're like members of courts of the court.
oh, maybe,
I don't really know. I don't know how courts work super well. Like I think there's like courtiers, but maybe lesser fae
yeah,
wouldn't be that. They're definitely not in like summer court, and there's not really like there. There's definitely some commentary on that kind of the tiers and stuff. Um, yeah. Also, I was also just I have made this like little list of things that I know like I'm like okay, well, so what else, because she's like, "Oh, so when I chase the puca, that's her instinct to remember that." And
mm-hmm,
she's like embarrassed of it. It's like the third time she's been shamed about that.
mm-hmm,
I think
mm-hmm.
Alice joked about it too when she got back from the Suriel, like, or
Yeah.
something like that. But then I was also like, okay, were people just like standing around when she was like bandaging Tamlin's hand? Were there people in the room when she was helping the blue fairy?
Oh,
What, like,
maybe.
was there someone in the infirmary? Are there people in the gallery when she's talking to Tamlin? Like, there's kind of a lot of scenes
Oh,
where I'm like,
yeah.
there could be people everywhere. Like,
Yeah, right.
when she was like eavesdropping on Tamlin and Lucien, is there someone just like sitting right there? Like, I don't know.
Like
Like,
walking past her on the stairs, like, don't touch her. She's,
okay,
yeah, like,
she's clearly sneaking, trying to
just
listen. Like, can you
poor,
imagine?
just
You think you're
poor.
being sneaky and eavesdropping, and there's
And
some
there's like
guy standing
an
right there.
array of servants just walking past you with linens, being like, this fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wrote, is her and Tamlin's relationship like their personal Love Island? They're just like
That's
taking bets, being
hilarious.
like, "So you think she's gonna fall for that one? That was a bad line." Tamlin seems like it's dumbass. Like, are they just,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Um.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So my mind kind of went
Or
wild
when
with like
she's
all those things.
walking, when she's like carrying all of her art stuff to go into the garden to paint, like I just imagine like mom level of carrying stuff, right? Where she's got her easel and her canvas and her paints, and she's just like completely
Like
inundated with all
waddling.
the shit. And these like weird little insect mask fairies are just clipping roses, being like, what the fuck is she doing now? Like, and like
Yeah.
not offering any help. She's like dropping paintbrushes and tripping over her fucking trousers or something, and they're just like, "Whip, the glamour can't help her."
It's like, yeah. It's kind of funnier the longer you think about all the different
It's
possibilities.
hilarious.
Like, you know, like even the like where she slips the knife into her sleeve. Like maybe
Right?
Tamlin didn't see that. Maybe like some servant was like to Tamlin. Like,
Yeah, he's like, I would have noticed it anywhere, and it's just like, Chuck being like,
look at that. Sorry, we're pointing.
we are
Listeners are
pointing.
pointing.
We're
It's an
pointing.
audio only podcast.
He's
Mm-hmm.
not, psst, hi lord, she has a knife. It's like, it's a butter knife. It's fine, Chuck. Go on your way.
Yep.
Um, I love this next line about Lucian, and I just wanted to just sit in the ether as we also question Lucien always.
Mm-hmm.
I was almost
Which?
So
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
it's the paragraph after the one that you just talked about, avoiding the eyes.
Okay.
It says, I was almost shaking by the time I reached the dining room. Lucien mercifully appeared like Lucien. I didn't ask whether it was because Tamlin had informed him to put up a better glamour or because he didn't bother trying to be something he wasn't. And there's a part of me that's like, both of those are wonderful questions, because I think we're supposed to be like, or he didn't bother trying to be something he wasn't, because Lucien is the freaking, like, he's the homie, and he's the one who, like, he's the good guy, right? To Tamlin's kind of fuckboy energy, and he ends up, kind of denouncing Tamlin in favor of going with Feyre and helps her out and all the things. And so, like, I think that that's what we're supposed to be get. But I love that the other option is that he put up a stronger glamour.
Yeah. Especially since, like, it's funny that the Fox character is the one that seems most genuine in Spring Court. And it's just, yeah,
He's a
it's,
trickster, right? Foxes are
yeah.
tricksters in mythology. In mythology, not
Well,
only
yeah.
that, but if his dad is Helion, would he not also have the weird luminosity that Tamlin has, as being someone who is, like, destined to be a High Lord?
Well, I wonder when that shows up. Because Tamlin, maybe people sensed it, but they didn't, like, I think you don't get it till you're actual High Lord, maybe. So I hope we don't have to watch a Helion death scene.
It said that his brothers recognized what he was.
Yeah, but I feel like there's small signs or something. I think we're talking about, yeah.
Sure. But there's an
Yeah.
option that says that Lucien puts up a strong glamour.
Yeah. Also Tamlin kisses and tells. What a slut. I'm just kidding. But it's just funny that
He
immediately
does,
that's the
right?
first thing that Lucien, it's not the first thing Lucien says to her, but it's, like, just funny. If I offer you the moon on a string, would you give me a kiss too?
Yeah. I mean, is it because
So
that's
little
the only
brother
way to
energy.
get yes, but is that because that's the only way to get rid of the glamour, is to offer a kiss, or is it because Tamlin told him, she gave me a kiss and I got rid of the glamour? It's
Definitely
like,
that one.
it's definitely that one. 'Cause, like, that's not the only way to get rid of that can't be the only, because he says it, right? We don't offer something for nothing. So that's what he asked for. And he sure did skip on over to Lucien and be like, guess what, buddy? Guess what I got? Yeah.
No, Lucien was like, I need a status update or I'm going to Hybern. She kissed me,
She
okay?
kissed me. She kissed me. I got a kiss
Okay,
on my
I'll want more
hand. On
kisses.
my hand, and I
Solstice is
kissed her
like next
forehead,
week.
but it's fine. Fine. Lucian's like, fuck, man, you move real slow. This should be easy. Just,
Yeah, I can see Lucien being like, come on, how out of practice are
yeah.
you? Uh,
Do you remember there's a saying, who is it that says it? Someone says, like, Autumn Court has fire in their blood and they fuck like
yeah,
it too. And
I
she
think Cassian says it to Feyre. And she's like, yucky, I
I
don't
don't
want to
think it's
picture a
I don't think
lame
it's I don't think it's
Lucien.
Cass. I think it's no, it's one of the it's one of the twins. Cuz it's when she goes back to, like, fuck up the court, and
Oh,
they're like, "Why
really?
did you fuck with Tamlin? Like, you should have been fucking that one. He's got, like, fire, like, Autumn
Oh,
Court has fire in their veins and they fuck like it too." And she's just like, "Oh, I was not excited to hear that that's what, like, my sister would be dealing with." Um Please sign me up. Like, I would,
down for some fire fucking.
hell yes.
Noted.
I mean, I like a ginger. My husband's not ginger, but I love a ginger. So I'm like, yeah, I'm here for it. Long haired ginger, fucked up eye, fucks like he's on fire. Let's go.
Get some orange LED lights for your bedrooms. Basically the same.
Pretty much. Pretty much. That's hilarious. I have questions about the glamour when she
Yes.
says, like, why could I see the Naga and the Puca and the Suriel? And he says, because they were not part of my court. And
Mm-hmm.
then which, fine, great, that makes perfect sense. But then she asks, so if I were to encounter the Attor again, would I actually see it? And he says yes, and it wouldn't be pleasant. And then she says, you said it didn't see me, and it certainly didn't seem like a member of your court. Why? So he says, and I put glamour over you. But that doesn't add, okay, that doesn't, did he put glamour over her so that, he says, because I threw a glamour over you when we entered the garden. The Attor couldn't see, hear, or smell you. Does the glamour also affect her? And that's why
I
she
think it
couldn't,
could be two glamours at the same time, maybe. Because
but
I think that is
the,
confirmation that she didn't see it.
sure, but the implication could also be you can't see what's in my court, and she couldn't see the Attor. Now that I've raised the glamour and you can see my court, you would be able to see the Attor now. Is that because the Attor comes from Spring Court?
Hold on. Where is she? Okay, hold on. Counter the Attor again. Would I actually see it? No, because he says yes, and it wouldn't be pleasant. Yes, because your glamour has been lit. Oh, I see. Wait.
Yes, but the glamour that he put on her was against his court.
Okay, I really think that is just a fucking accident.
Yeah,
The editor got confused.
yeah.
Said
because
like
what
this is confusing the way she asked it. Like I
because
think he just put two glamours
yeah, or
on.
he threw one glamour and it just stops them from seeing each other. But it should
Yeah.
say that because it sounds like without, because if he doesn't say, oh, because I put a glamour on you when we entered the garden so that you couldn't see anything and neither could anything else see you, it sounds like, why could I see the Naga? Oh, because they're not part of Spring Court. So then why couldn't I see the Attor? Would I be able to see the Attor now? And he's like, yeah, of course you'd be able to see it now. Why couldn't it see me? Oh, because I put a glamour on you when we're in the garden. Why couldn't she
Funny.
see it then? Because you didn't address why she couldn't see it. You only addressed why it couldn't see her. And you just said, well, now that you've raised the glamour against your court, could I see it? That implies that the Attor could be Spring Court. I'm not making this up, right? This is in the book.
No, it does sound like that. But there's no way in hell. I mean,
You can't tell me there's no way in hell that the Attor is originally from the Spring Court. How amazing would that be?
no, like I mean it's like not a spring color is what I meant.
Okay,
Because
okay.
it's like not spring palette. It should be purple if it was in the spring court, okay?
Maybe.
It shouldn't be scaly and nasty, right?
Why?
I don't know, because I feel like we haven't seen any. I feel like spring court is all like woodland
Yes, because Spring
creatures.
Court is what Tamlin lets us see.
True.
Think about spring. There's also the withering of flowers happens in late spring because it's getting too fucking hot, right?
Hmm.
Perennial, like flowers only bloom. Like, sure, they're blooming, great, whatever, but then they die in spring because they don't stay for the whole of spring. And I only know this because now I live in a place that actually has a real spring. They fucking die.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Like, yeah, well, and like think about like, I don't know, lizardy, snaky things, right? Like, why can't that kind of creature live in a spring court? Why can't things, because things come out of hibernation during spring, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if
Yeah.
and
I just would be surprised.
Alice is covered in bark and she's from summer. The fuck does that make
Yeah,
any sense?
that kind it's like nature
Like,
stuff.
yeah, I'm just like, was she fucking driftwood from the ocean of fucking summer court? No, who cares? I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm here for a place in a book where we find out that the colony of Attors is from the spring court, and then we got some real interesting questions to have to answer from Tams. But like, Tam's already got a bunch of questions
Yeah.
to
Maybe
answer.
it's just
But
because I definitely think that they're definitely from Hybern, or they're Valg, or they're like from the middle, like the Naga. Like,
mhm.
are the Naga?
But that's the thing, like,
Who
where do all
knows
these
what they
originally
are?
come from? All of these are Prythian like creatures, right?
Yeah.
So does she just collect like she does? Amarantha doesn't want lesser Fae. Attor is clearly lesser Fae, so she only collecting lesser Fae that have like a sort of
Maybe that's her connection to Hybern. You know,
ma-
it's like the thing that was sent over with her because it's a Hybern's like. Because
that
isn't the Attor the one who like rats around? It like sneaks away at the end.
I do believe so. But like also like maybe she's just collecting like the more dangerous creatures and is
Yeah.
promising them a higher status if they, because like if you're think about it. If you're a dangerous creature from Summer Court and this person comes along and says that you can have power and authority and be treated as an equal under the mountain, coming from summer court, you're absolutely going to take it because they're all treated like shit. So I get it, but like I didn't think about the assumption that like some of these beings could be from Hybern, but I think they're all from Prythian. I think everybody that's on her side and is her ally under the mountain, those are Prythian allies.
Actually, the Attor is what I thought was maybe the one exception. I think I've always
Mhm.
thought it was specifically from Hybern because when Hybern attacks Valaris, they're all in the air, and it's like a bunch of them.
I forgot that. You're right. Interesting. Yeah,
But
because
it's funny because my first instinct was it's not vibes. It's not green or purple like
yeah,
a
no,
flower.
I get it. I get it.
But actually, that probably I just feel like also SJM kind of chooses some things aesthetically too.
Yeah. I also have always connected the Attor to the weird creatures that fly in
The Ilkin.
the Elkin. So
Yeah, now that I'm like,
yeah.
okay, yes, like, and I mean, I'm sure there's some like not aesthetically pleasing things coming from spring and
Sure.
summer, which we think are beautiful, but that is very interesting. It is a funny thing that it
I
sounds like
was like,
that
it's
is
just an interesting
there.
read to be like, did you just say that they're from the spring court, sir? Like, what are we getting at here?
Yeah, that
I
seems like it reads like a mistake to me.
I don't have anything else until we
Hmm.
get to the head.
I just thought, wait, where is this? The puka belongs to the wind and weather and everything that changes.
Mhm.
Did you have any thoughts?
No, I just thought it was like such a Fey answer, but
Yeah. I wanted to be like, come on, there's something. So I wrote it down, but I was like.
I I think because like so part of I guess fairy tales and the mythology around different fae and fairy beings is that a lot of them are tied to elements and
Mm.
places and right like there's like with like woodland like nymphs and things like
Yeah.
that like they're elemental or they're at least sort of geographically inclined, right? You have water nymphs, you have wood nymphs, you have like holdras that live in more woodsy areas, you have kelpies and selkies that live in water, right? And so for me reading that, it was just kind of like it was a fairy answer for me where I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to kind of keep in mind that like well, and the puka is the one that has the like illusion,
Uh-huh.
right? And so the puka belongs to the wind and weather and everything that changes. I think that made more actually what got me was more of the Naga description because the puka belonging to the wind and weather and
Yes.
everything that changes. I'm like, yeah, so like the illusion, the sort of wispiness of the puka, the ability of the puka, that makes sense, right? And the Naga, they
Belong
belong
to
to
someone
someone
else.
else. And
Which we assume is Amarantha, but part of me is like, maybe.
no, I think that they don't belong to that at all. I think they belong to somebody else because when the Suriel was being attacked, she
They
said
say Dark
they
Mother.
they will take me.
Yeah.
The Naga belonged to somebody we don't know about yet.
Well, they say the Dark Mother has given us a gift and a meal or something, and they see Feyre and
Yeah,
the
but who the
Suriel.
fuck is the Dark Mother? And the Suriel keeps being like, they're gonna take me, they want me, whatever. And that's when we
Yeah,
started to be like, okay, well, if the Suriel is Caltane and the Naga belongs to the Dark Mother or whatever, answers to a Dark
we were
Mother,
connecting it to like
then that's
Millie
the
and
sort of throne of
possibility.
glass connection, possible
Yeah,
connections. But
I mean, I definitely think that the baseline reader is supposed to assume here that the Naga belong to Amarantha,
yeah,
and that the Dark Mother is Amarantha from the other chapter. But I think both of us are like, but is it that simple? I don't know.
yeah.
It's also a great place to like it could easily so even if it did mean Amarantha in originally, in this draft she goes, I need a way in. Oh, this is vague. I could say that wasn't Amarantha, and now it me has a double meaning.
So we never find out who this Fae is, right? This high Fae whose head is on a stick.
Oh no. Do you
Yeah,
have a theory?
I don't have a theory, but I did
Oh,
write like I wonder if we'll find out who it was. I wonder if that is a meaningful thing or if it is just like a throwaway because they say like not spring court or he says not autumn court and Tamlin says it's nobody I recognize.
when it says he's branded. With the
Okay,
night court, but that means like post death or during death, right?
yes,
Why would they do that?
but before that, it says not Autumn Court. Lucien says, I don't recognize him at all. Tamlin's hands clamped on my shoulder as I turned back towards the head. Neither do I. A soft, vicious growl laced his words, but no claws pricked. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it being just a throwaway person. Not every single thing in the book has to have some sort of deeper meaning, but I was like, huh, I wonder who this high fae is, and if it's just like we just need to, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was like a crime of opportunity, right? Like they had pissed Amarantha off, and she was like, fucking deal with him, and then he also used it to send a message. But I have a theory about why his head is on Spring Court land.
And we should talk about now or not yet?
Sure, if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say on that note, with it like them talking about it, though I thought it was interesting that does Lucian know every person in the court?
That's
Like
fair.
I'm like,
True.
how big are these courts? Are they that small you would know everybody? Or maybe it's just like maybe he would at least recognize everybody because
Well,
it's
it's
a
not a
high fae and
ginger.
therefore
Hello. They're not from
yeah.
Autumn Court because they're not ginger.
Yeah. But I'm like, maybe this is really small. But anyway. Yeah, yeah. What's your theory?
Yeah, sorry, that is an interesting thought though, that like do all high fae kind of look or have the same vibe depending upon what court you're from? Because that's weird.
And also, is there like 40 people at each court? Like, how many people can he remember their face?
Yeah, and so then that's the thing too, right? Because like if we're talking court, like traditional historical courts, is they're just like court is a small subset of the entire population of a country,
Isn't it? Isn't it still like? Can it
right?
be like thousands of people sometimes?
Well, sure, it
Or
could be a
like,
lot of people, sure, but it's not the entire place, right? Nobody, peasants in England would never have said, I'm from the English court.
oh no.
That's for nobility, that's for royalty, that's lords and ladies shit.
Well, Alice says she's from Summer Court.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, are we supposed to be thinking about court in a historical context that it's these, like, the nobility of a particular
They are
country?
at court.
Yeah, or is this like the court because that's what we call the particular region, like that's night court,
I
the
think
whole
it's the
thing.
region.
So do I, but then that raises that question that you asked, like not Autumn Court. How do you know that this high phase head is not from Autumn Court? Either you know the entire population of Autumn Court, or there's some distinguishing marker from the neck up that would indicate that they're from that court. And if that's the case, then are we all just like similar phenotypes in different courts? Because that's fucking problematic as shit.
Well, actually, no. It's because he says I don't recognize him at all. So that part made me go, why would you think you would recognize everyone from your court? So again, that would
Especially
point to
when you haven't been
not
in your court in
phenotypes.
a long ass time.
Yeah, isn't it been like 50 years?
Yeah. So I don't
I
that's a
don't know how
weird
long
one.
he's been in spring, but he's been in there a while.
I want to know why they're branded with the Night Court sigil. Because here's my theory. Amarantha is not Night Court. She's not sending messages from the Night Court.
Yeah.
She would be sending her own message. She has her own sigil if that's a thing, or she just fucking doesn't deal with sigils. And
Yeah.
it's hidden behind the ear.
Hmm.
So here's my theory. Right. And they say it, but I think that it's a twist of it. So when she says amusing but not a message, oh, it's a message, Lucien said, and I cringed at the thick, wet sound of flesh and bone, blah, 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 blah. To get in and out of our defenses, to possibly commit a crime nearby with the blood this fresh, it's exactly what the High Lord of the Night Court would find amusing, that bastard. So it's a message that you can get in and out of my defenses and kill somebody on my land without me knowing. And it's exactly what he would do because he's a fucking prick.
Mhm.
That's their perspective of Rhys being a dick. But here's the thing. It's the exact same thing. It is Rhys saying, I can get in and out of your defenses and I can commit this crime on your land. But it's not because it's a prank and it's not a warning it's not a threat. It's a warning that says, hey, dumbass, she's moving. And I can't warn you and I can't tell you to beef up your defenses, but I can do this that looks like a threat, but is really me warning you to beef up your fucking defenses, you idiot. And he does that by putting the Night Court sigil on him and not a letter from Amarantha.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I assumed, yeah, I don't know. I just assumed he was just doing it to be like, I have to play the bad guy role,
Yes,
and
and
so,
I
but
think he's
I
doing
like that
I
second
think
reading.
he's doing a bad guy thing to mask what he's actually trying to do, which is just tell Tamlin, "Hey, bud,
Something's
shit's
happening.
getting fucking wild, and I can't actually warn you, so I'm gonna do this thing that's real fucked up, and
Yeah.
she's gonna." It's like so. It's like in. Have you seen Schindler's List? I don't know why this popped in my head. So in
No.
Schindler's List, there's a moment when all of the Jews are on the train and it's sweltering inside and they're screaming and whatever because they're all fucking boiling to death inside these train cars, and Schindler takes a fire hose and he's watering down the carts, right? And he is trying to alleviate some of their pain and some of the heat, and the Nazi officers are laughing because they think that Schindler is teasing them with the water. That's what
Oh.
this seems like to me, where they think where Amaranth is going to be like, "Oh, good move, Rhys. You're sitting a threat and you're being a dick and you're scaring them and you're doing all
Hmm.
the things I want you." Where in reality, Rhysand is trying to warn them.
I like that reading.
It's a really weird way to get there. Sorry that I brought in Schindler's List. Well, yeah, and then I even wrote here, right, where it's like, it's court posturing, but this it was only their High Lord's idea of a joke. Since when does Rhys joke? Like, even in
Well,
his
no, he kind of has that persona of like fucking with everybody. Like he does play that part a little bit. I can see it. But also, my question with that was, doesn't Tamlin like? Okay, Tamlin doesn't like him because they're they kill each other's families and stuff, and like, but like he was friends with Rhys. Does he is he just fully bought into the propaganda and thinks that he's changed? Does he ever think like, man, I had a good friend? Well, they
I
seem like they were friends
that's the thing.
ish.
I think there's something we don't know about that relationship because
Yeah.
Helion immediately knows who Rhys is. Like, at that meeting, he does his posturing, he does his all this bullshit, and then when Helion's in the room by himself, he just, like, is chilling and is just like,
You can
"Fuck,
tell that
Reese,
they're
like, now
actual
you could."
allies. Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, you could just be yourself in front of me, you don't have to do the fucking shit that you were doing for the rest of them. Like,
Yeah.
people and even Jurian, right? When Jurian that's his name, right? Yes. When Jurian comes back and is
He
talking to
knows Reese isn't that bad.
yeah, and he was just like, "Oh, they said that he was this person. That's not the Reese I know." And like because she's trying to say that like, "Oh, when I was in the night court, I was assaulted and whatever." And like she's putting on the whole like, "I don't please don't touch me, Tamlin, because I was whatever."
Hmm.
And Jurian's like, "That is not the Reese I know. When I fought with him, he was not that guy." It sounds pretty fucking weird to me. So people know him outside of just his small cohort of humans. Sorry, not humans, of his
The
fucking
Fae.
inner
Yeah.
circle is the word
Yeah.
I'm searching for. I feel like there's something, and granted, a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's the sister mom thing where like Tamlin was mated to Reese's sister or whatever." Like I'm sure that there's more to that story, but there's stuff we don't know yet. There's got to
Yeah.
be some sort of something between Tam and Rhys that we just don't know about yet because their relationship is weird. He's
Well, and
checking
also,
in on him, and he's wanting him to be okay, and he's cooking him steak, and he's
yeah.
and
Well,
he's
and
and
the
he's
last
pissed.
interaction before all this was when they both said, "We're not going to kill each other. We just both became High Lords." You know what I mean? Like they were like,
Yeah,
that's kind of a crazy decision not to kill like your deep enemy immediately after like
but I don't think they were
the
enemies. Their dads were enemies.
Yeah, like the courts and like so it like it shows that like they clearly had
Yeah,
they just like both became high lords and were like, let's just chill.
yeah,
That's a weird thing to then not talk for however long they talk for. And sure, like I'm just like, does Tamlin really think, oh, he went and served Amarantha, must be a bad guy? Like,
yeah,
I don't
right.
know. I'm just like, I wonder what Tamlin's thinking in his head about Rhys. Like, man, he could just be like, man, I didn't realize that guy could fall so far. He really just went off the deep
Yeah,
end, like
and that's
kind of like a
yeah,
MAGA person. Like,
yeah.
you're
Like
like,
if
oh, they really believe that, you
yeah,
know? Like,
if we
but
had gotten some sentences like that, it would make more sense. Where if he was just like, I never thought that he would be this person, or
yes.
like he fought for with the humans. I don't. I can't believe he fell for her propaganda for her shit. right?
Yeah.
Or I guess that's what happens when someone takes your power, right? When you don't have power, then your loyalties change, or your,
Yeah.
something, right? Like that, like that there was some change in it, but he doesn't indicate any of that at all. He's just like, this fucking night court is corrupt and they live by their own ways, and the fucking High Lord is a prick. That's all I
Yeah.
got. And I think part of that is because that's what we're supposed to think as the audience, right?
Of course.
Um, but yeah, I didn't buy it. I kind of bought it here, right? Because we don't know anything. And when he like makes him kiss his hand later on, and or beg on his knees, I was like, ooh, that's intense. But then when we actually get under the mountain, my entire, and we'll get there, but like I remember being like, oh, this story is not about Tamlin at all. Like
I
this
didn't
story,
think that. I just, yeah, more
I
global.
I didn't think about it right at the beginning, clearly, but like when he comes into the thing and he's like, she's running me ragged and like fucking me like
Yes.
crazy or whatever, and I just needed to be with someone who I don't hate or whatever, I was like, oh, this is the story I want to read. Because right at that point, I was so fucking pissed off at Tamlin for not doing a goddamn thing, anyways, and I was just like, and then but we'll get there.
Mhm.
So
That's interesting.
that like Tamlin's perspective of Rhys, I think, is too
Really
black and
interesting.
white for what their story has.
And on some level, Tamlin does think in black and white, so maybe
Mhm.
he's just, yeah, maybe I could see maybe he did just buy into it.
Yeah,
But it would be like maybe a willful ignorance. Like, I don't want to deal with the emotions that this brings, so I'm just gonna go, that guy's done with, he's on the bad side.
it could also just be a level of selfishness, right? Tamlin can't see past his own world and his own shit, and so he just doesn't even have like the emotional or intellectual capacity to try to understand the nuance of other people,
Yeah.
because he's just so caught up in his own shit. And that happens, right? Like we know plenty of people who are narcissists and
Mhm.
just kind of can't see past their own victim
Totally.
selves, which, like, and don't get me wrong, Tamlin is a victim to some extent. I'm fine with that. But it's also the like, I feel like Tamlin would be the type to like try to be in like the sort of the trauma wars, right? Where like he would be, well, but and like,
Yeah.
well, she came after me, and like even if Rhys was like, really, I was assaulted for 50 years, Tamlin would still be like, yes, but it was, it's a me, and all of my and like not hold space for other people's experiences.
Yeah, that's funny. Actually, on the previous page, like we just get past it. I wasn't gonna, but I just realized that's kind of like Tamlin's advice when, like, this is back when she's talking about, like, what if can I see people? And he's like, yeah, just pretend. He goes, pretend you don't see it. It's like his
Yes,
answer for everything is just put your
ignore it.
blinders on.
Yeah,
Don't think
absolutely.
about anything that scares you.
This was for my own safety, not his amusement. No, he's a fucking narcissist, and he just says, please, God, don't, just ignore it. Okay.
Well, and also, even if it is for her safety, it's clearly him just his only instinct is something that she doesn't need, is just to protect, when
Yeah.
that's good for now, but not pretty soon she's going to outgrow that. So I thought that was a nice, that line is actually a nice seed of like, oh, she's recognizes Tamlin as protector,
Yeah.
which is what she needs now,
I
but not what she will want.
I found this statement to be very interesting. So after the part about that's their High Lord's idea of a joke, my knees
Yeah.
shook as I rose. Fairy politics, fairy courts. Their ideas of jokes must have been even more horrible when we were enslaved to you all. And I wrote, no, dear, that was spring court. Because night court fought for the humans, no?
Well, I think all the courts maybe had slaves, and then when things got heated, some courts joined. I would guess that Reese's dad had slaves, because they both seem like kind of scummy, both Rhys and Tamlin's dads and Baron and stuff. But maybe not.
It's I need to look into it. But
Yeah.
I love that her indictment, though, on the night court is so very true of spring court.
Yes.
Some days I'm very glad I was still a child when my father sent his slaves south of the wall. What I had witnessed was bad enough.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, my dad was a fucking prick. We treated the slaves horrifically, and I'm glad that I was young so that like at least that stopped when I was young for them and I didn't have to. But it's still all about him, right? I'm
I
glad I was
know.
still a child so I didn't have to see the horrors that other people had to experience. And she's
Dude,
not
actually,
addressed,
that's
and she's
crazy.
like, "You're not like your dad." Okay, but can we just acknowledge that the court that
He
you're current
centered himself.
that and the court that you're in, that you are wanting to sit there and be super judgmental of the Night Court is also a court that was horrific to your own people. So,
Yeah.
like, don't just chill out before you just start, like,
Mhm.
calling everybody else fucking disgusting beings when the land that you're also on, and she says that, right? Like, I didn't think 500 years would be able to wipe away the horrors that my people went through. It just seems like because Tamlin, and it wasn't his choice. Tamlin didn't free anybody. He didn't fight in the war for humans. Rhys fought for humans. Tamlin
Yeah.
didn't do any of that, and he's still being like, "Oh, the Night Court's a bunch of fucking psychos." Your dad was a psycho, and you're glad that you didn't have to see it. Like, there's a difference, Tamlin.
Yeah.
You're not a savior because you weren't old enough to participate. Like, what?
Yeah. I thought it, well, the part I underlined there was some days. Not all days. Some days you wish, which I know is just he's just saying it, but I'm just like, that's funny.
That's a funny read though. Some some days. Most days. Most days I really wish that I had been older when they went away because I would have loved to witness more bad things. But some days, some days I'm glad I was young.
That's fucked.
Uh,
Um,
I do like the sentence, right? I don't think that 5 centuries would be enough to cleanse the stains of the horrors that my people had endured. I think that that's
yep.
pertinent to an American novelist, and right, we can side
Yeah.
quest that, but you get what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I find that interesting. Um oh, this next paragraph, excuse me, honey, since when? This I hope you picked up on this because you always pick up on this, and
Yes.
okay,
I think I know what you're talking about.
go ahead.
You're not your father, Tamlin, or your brothers. You never made me feel like a prisoner. Is that what you mean?
Yes, because of all the times that you've documented when the use of
He does
prison.
make her feel like a prisoner?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You've never made me feel like a prisoner, really? Because like 100 pages ago, you were like, "Is he my captor or my savior?" Like, bitch, hello, like,
Well, even just like the last page, it's when he comes up behind her, it says, like, he clamped his hands on me. It was
yeah,
like every instance of him touching her is yucky.
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah. So I was like,
like
I literally wrote next to it, "Yes, he does, bitch."
you just don't know it yet. So that's a very low bar. Instead of saying
Yeah,
you make me feel free, you make me feel
yeah.
like
You
an
didn't actually
equal,
make. Yeah, you didn't
he
make me
says
feel a
you
lot.
make me feel like I'm not. It's not a positive. That's just
You
saying
don't
you don't
make
do
me
that.
feel like nothing.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you make me feel like something, but you don't make me feel like nothing. Yeah.
it's a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, I remember reading this and being like, "Oh, cool, that their fucking love and bond is growing." And now I'm like, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. We're gonna be, like the next chapter is all like lovey dovey stuff that's, actually I had one more thing. I just thought it was interesting how she at the end, like I'll just read it. The shadows that flickered in his eyes as he nodded his thanks told me there was more, still more that he had yet to tell me about his family, his life before they'd been killed, and this title this title that had been thrust upon him. I wouldn't ask, not with the blight pressing down on him, not until he was ready. He'd given me space and respect. I could offer him no less. And I'm just like, first of all, you never find that out. He's never gonna be ready. And I just think it's so funny how she's like, I'm gonna give him space.
Mhm.
Like, it's
Yeah.
he just is never, they will never have that moment, and that's like the whole problem.
He's not
But she clearly
emotionally available.
expects to eventually have that
Yeah,
moment, and
but
she's not gonna get that.
he's not emotionally available. He's never going to be.
Yeah,
You
but it's very
cannot fix Tamlin.
interesting. You can't fix him. You gotta fix himself. But yeah, and it's a very interesting sort of like it's less romantic, but you still get that relationship
Yeah.
feel,
Mhm, mhm.
for sure.
I feel like we're supposed to feel a sense of vulnerability from Tamlin in this, and yet we're not getting any information about him or who he is.
Yeah.
And
No,
that
yeah, he's
and
just
that
talking about like things.
yeah, it's like fake vulnerability that like there's some empathy. It's a heavy-ish conversation because they're talking about slavery and they're talking about, horrors, and they're standing in front of this fucking severed head. So like that's intense. But at the
Yeah,
same time, I feel like when you start to really break it down, Tamlin's still not giving you any information about himself. He's not opening up to you.
yeah,
You're not learning anything new about him or bonding with him in any sort of way, and he's also not really giving you a space to tell him anything about you either.
yeah, and I mean, the closest is maybe the someday line. um,
Well, and I
it's
think that
it's like
I
if
think
you said, "Tell me about your childhood," and someone said, "Yeah, I grew up in the '90s, and
yeah.
these are the political events that happened."
I think
Like,
that this is a
who does that?
clever way to give us exposition.
Yeah.
This is a
No,
clever
yeah, it's
way,
an
yeah, yeah,
exposition.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a clever way to give us information. But it's supposed to feel like we're getting somewhere with Tamlin and Feyre and that the relationship is building, but really the whole point of this chapter is to give the audience
Yeah.
information and be giving these it's to introduce really what it is it's setting up a fear of the Night Court High Lord
Yeah.
and giving us enough of that sort of introduction so that when we meet Rhys and we realize that he was the one who originally saved her from whatever at Calamni, that she's already met him, he's super gorgeous, that there's disparate um like it's a juxtaposition of first impressions because our first impression
Mhm.
of Rhys is not as this monster that she's being told he is. And then
Yeah.
when he plays that role, she sees it, yada yada. But it's the shock factor, right? The reader needs to be like, oh, there was this person who she encountered and it's a throwaway person or whatever. And then you have this huge buildup to like this horrible fucking monster of this Night Court High Lord who's being a dick and sending threats. And then in two chapters when we meet him and realize that those two people are the same person, that's
Mhm.
what keeps readers coming back for more, right? So it's an
Yeah.
exposition chapter. It's a chapter that gives us some foreshadowing of a character that we will meet that is not who we think he is. And it's veiled, well veiled
Yeah.
in a chapter that's supposed to look like two characters being vulnerable and building a relationship with each other, and that's what we get with the first read through. But hindsight is a bitch, and we know that that's not actually what's happening in this chapter because we know the world.
Yeah. Oh, and I also think it gives a good amount of depth to the world as well as stakes, like
Mhm.
what you're saying about like Reese and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting chapter. It's short. But yeah, next week we do the summer solstice
The
in chapter
summer
25.
solstice. To the stars who listen, we will see you next week for chapter 25.